Namaste children. Today our topic is Electoral Politics, Chapter 4 from Civics textbook. In the previous lesson, we have seen that in a democracy, it is neither possible nor necessary for people to govern directly. The most common form of democracy in our times is for the people to govern through their representatives. In this chapter, we will look at how these representatives are elected, why elections are necessary, what makes an election democratic. We take a look at each stage of elections. Towards the end of the chapter, we turn to an assessment of whether elections in India are free and fair. Here, we also examine the role of Election Commission in ensuring free and fair elections. So now, let us see about why do we need elections. Elections takes place regularly in any democracy. There are more than 100 countries in the world in which elections takes place to choose people's representatives. But why do we need elections? Let us try to imagine a democracy without elections. A rule of the people is possible without any elections if all the people can sit together every day and take all decisions. But this is not possible in any large community, nor is it possible for everyone to have the time and knowledge to take decisions on all matters. Therefore, in most democracies, people rule through their representatives. This requires a mechanism by which people can choose their representatives at regular intervals and change them if they wish to do so. This mechanism is called election. Therefore, elections are considered essential in our time for any representative democracy. In an election, the voters make many choices. They can choose who will make laws for them. They can choose who will form the government and take major decisions. They can choose the party whose policies will guide the government and lawmaking. Elections can be held in many ways. All democratic countries hold elections. In previous lesson, we discussed many examples of countries where elections are held, but they can't really be called democratic elections. Let us recall what we learned there and start with a simple list of minimum conditions of democratic election. First, everyone should be able to choose. This means that everyone should have one vote. Every vote should have equal value. Second, there should be something to choose from. Parties and candidates should be free to contest elections and should offer some real choice to the voters. Third, the choice should be offered at regular intervals. Elections must be held regularly after every few years. Fourth, the candidate preferred by the people should get elected. And the fifth one is, elections should be conducted in a free and fair manner where people can choose as they really wish. These might look like very simple and easy conditions, but these are not fulfilled. Is it good to have a political competition? Elections are thus all about political competition. This competition takes various forms. The most obvious form is a competition among political parties. At the constituency level, it takes the form of competition among several candidates. If there is no competition, elections will become pointless. But is it good to have a political competition? Clearly, an electoral competition has many demerits. It creates a sense of disunity and factionalism in every locality. Different political parties and leaders often level allegations against one another. Moreover, parties and candidates often use dirty tricks to win elections. Some people say that this pressure to win electoral fights does not allow sensible long-term policies to be formulated. Some good people who may wish to serve the country do not enter this arena. They do not like the idea of being dragged into unhealthy competition. Our constitution makers were aware of these problems, yet they opted for free competition in elections as the way to select our future leaders. How do we deal with this real life situation? One way is to try and improve the knowledge and character of political leaders. The other and more realistic way is to set up a system where political leaders are rewarded for serving the people and punished for not doing so. Who decides this reward or punishment? The simple answer is the people. This is what electoral competition does. Regular electoral competition provides incentives to political parties and leaders. They know that if they raise issues that people want to be raised, their popularity and chances of victory will increase in the next elections. But if they fail to satisfy the voters with their work, they will not be able to win again. So, if a political party is motivated only by desire to be in power, even then it will be forced to serve the people. This is a bit like the way market works. Even if a shopkeeper is interested only in his profit, he is forced to give good service to the customers. If he does not, the customer will go to some other shop. Similarly, political competition may cause divisions and some ugliness, but it finally helps to force political parties and leaders to serve the people. In the next class, we can see the system of election, children. Thank you. This is what electoral competition